In this video, I'm going to be exclusively reading about one creature. I'll give you time to guess what that creature is. If you guessed vampire, you would be correct. And we all are just gonna all ignore that these teeth are giving me a little bit of a lisp. That's fine, that's cool, and I like it like that. I'm so excited for this creature feature because if you don't know me, hi, my name's Marissa. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I talk about books and book design, and I also love vampire books. I am a huge vampire girl. This probably stems from an early love of Twilight. It has just blossomed from there. I really love vampire books of all genres. I love vampire romance. I love vampire horror. So I'm excited to explore vampires in different genres. So without further ado, I will introduce you the books that I will be reading in this vlog. First and foremost, this one I am possibly most excited for. Let me just move the candle flame. Book number one is Carmilla by Sheridan. Fanu. This one has been on my shelf for years, and it's actually criminal that I haven't read it. It is a short vampire novella that actually predates Dracula by, I think, 25 years. This is the vampire book that inspired Dracula, which is kind of the foundation of most vampire stories. I'm excited to read the source material. The really exciting part about Carmilla is that Carmilla is a female vampire and there is a female love interest. This is also my book club's book of the month, so I'm double dipping. Next up, we are completely pivoting. If Carmilla is a classic, then we are going full romance with Bride by Hazelwood. Yes, I probably could have included this in my future werewolf creature feature because this is both a vampire and a werewolf story, but it's really just been on my TBR all year and I want to read it so bad that I'm putting it in the vampire one. I mean, she is a vampire, so it counts for sure. If you somehow aren't familiar, Bride is Hazelwood's first paranormal romance, which follows this vampire princess, maybe just normal vampire, I'm not even sure. She has been pledged to marry the werewolf alpha, and the werewolves and the vampires don't really get along, so this is sort of a marriage treaty. And I'm not sure where it goes from there, just seeing how they get along, I suppose. I love Hazelwood and I'm ready for some romantic tension. This next one, I'm really not sure how to classify it. Maybe it's horror, it might just be like general gothic fiction. That would be A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is a Dracula retelling that has kind of been blowing up all over booktube, book talk. What I know is that it's told from the perspective of Dracula's first wife, Constanta, kind of the struggles she goes through being Dracula's bride. And I've heard there's some element of sister wives in here that some people really do not like, but I'll just have to see what I think for myself. The next one I do not have a physical copy of, but I figured it would be good to throw an audiobook into the mix, so I chose Woman Eating. This one again is a genre pivot because it is sort of the sad girl lit genre. Maybe it's just like literary fiction. This story follows a woman who I think is a young vampire, and she's dealing with the changes in her body and dealing with like how to rationalize drinking blood because she has issues with it and she, I think, really wants to be a human, but obviously she's not. Sounds like it's just completely different tonally from the other stories. As I've said with all of them, I'm excited to see what it holds for me. And last but certainly not least, I picked up another mass market paperback. This one is The Vampire Curse. I found this at Half Price Books. Apparently this is from the 70s. I just really loved the cover. I love these sort of pulpy covers where it's like a beautiful woman running from a castle. All I know is it's about this girl named Tina, and she goes to stay at this place called the Rentlow Retreat, and there's a certain Jeremy Rentlow who is kind of giving her weird vibes. And we're unsure whether she is there willingly or if he's holding her against her will. It says, "Is Jeremy's kiss the kiss of death?" Yeah, I'm ready for the drama. I'm ready for whatever ridiculousness is in here. So those are the 5 books I picked out. This was hard to choose because there are just so many vampire books I do want to read. These are what are on deck for this video. I'll take you along the ride and tell you which ones are worth reading. I am ready to devour these books. You guys, I am loving Carmilla so much. I'm like a little bit over halfway now. This is like the perfect book for me. It just has everything I love, like the gothic vibes, the vampire, the creepy old castle. Like, this is my perfect book. I've been enjoying it so thoroughly, but I'm just like excited now to explore Carmilla retellings, because isn't there an St. Gibson one? I just know it's gonna be good, so I have no other plans tonight. I'm literally just planning on sitting here and finishing this, and then I have Bride queued up ready to go when I finish Carmilla. I got my baby boy right by my side, and I have this like vampire dark romance piano ambiance going, and it's literally just perfection. Also today, my friend Suki gave me just like a ginormous bag of pastries from our favorite bakery. So I literally was just feasting on that for dinner, and I'm like, wow, this might be my perfect evening. Life is good. I will update you when I finish Carmilla. This is a new favorite. I've only ever heard good things about Carmilla, but I never really knew what to expect. The hype is correct. This is a fantastic book, and I think it's just like the perfect bite-sized treat to get you into fall. This is pretty much the first book I read this season, and I'm immediately in that spooky mood. I think I really enjoyed seeing, the history of it. Carmilla inspired Dracula, and Dracula inspired so many other vampire books. So this is sort of the origin of a lot of those stories that I love as a vampire girly. And I think it's just so fascinating that initially this sort of vampire story is, seeing the vampire as a woman. It makes a lot of sense in my brain. It sort of is scratching the same itch as like a siren story. Obviously, a beautiful, mysterious woman would lure you to your death. Dracula is kind of creepy and old and ugly. Carmilla is beautiful, mysterious, and alluring. Like, I'm going with Carmilla. Sorry. This is a bold claim. Maybe, maybe not. I'm giving Carmilla 5 out of 5 stars. It was just perfect for me. Yeah, so this is the perfect way to kick off the video. I'm excited to get into the rest. I have already started Bride, and I will be updating you very soon about that because I'm just flying through it. I did have some trouble getting into it in the beginning because Bride is just a very different vibe than Carmilla. But yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. I, for real, cannot put Bride down. I am so obsessed. It is just like, it is addicting. Carmilla has those rich, gothic, historic vibes, very beautiful prose. And that is just not what Bride is. Bride is a treat. It still feels very much like Ali Hazelwood, like her other books. As you can imagine, it's very fun and silly still. In the beginning, I was still in that mindset of Carmilla, so it was hard for me to like let the funny in, I guess. But now that I'm in it, I'm like, well over halfway at this point. And that's pretty much just been me reading it this weekend. This is the first time in so long that I've been reading a book where it's like, I cannot put it down. Like, I'm out with my friends. I want to leave the function to come home and read this book. So I would sit here and finish it, but I have to leave to go to book club, which I also was reading Carmilla for my book club. Did a little double dipping there. So I'm really excited to see what everyone thinks about it. But yes, I will be itching to come home to finish Bride. I made a pumpkin chocolate chip bread for book club. I kind of already said my piece on Bride in the last clip, so I won't spend too much time talking about it, but I devoured it. Oh, I ate it up. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really just could not put it down. Like, I was flying through it. And it wasn't even because the mystery element, it wasn't that big of a gag. Like, it was kind of obvious, but it's just Ali Hazelwood. Like, the way she writes tension between couples it's electric. And I could feel it. But I will say, if you are looking for like a vampire novel, like you want all the gothic vibes, like the whole number, this is not your girl. This is like hardly a vampire book, if I'm being honest. There were times where I could like almost forget that it really just reads like one of Ali Hazelwood's STEM romances, which is kind of my one critique. Although I loved it and I love her other books, I just think if she was trying to like try out a new genre, she should have committed a little bit more, because even in this book, her female main character is still a woman in STEM, which I love that. But why is she a vampire? Like, I don't know. I just would have liked to see her like really commit to trying something different, basically. But if you like Ali Hazelwood, you're gonna like this one. That being said, if you don't like Ali Hazelwood, I don't think this is gonna be the one that's gonna convince you. That's all I really have to say about it. Moving on to my next pick, I'm gonna start the Woman Eating audiobook. I'm very excited for this one because I feel like it's so wildly different from the two I've already read. I just think it's fun how different each of these books are. That's the cool thing about like the vampire trope. It can be taken in so many different ways. I'm ready for an audiobook. I'm ready to just get into that lit fic mindset. I'm anticipating some like really beautiful writing, and I've heard it has like a meyer of rest and relaxation vibe, although I haven't read that one, so what do I know? I will update you when I get a little bit into that. Okay, kind of an awkward angle, but I am currently driving to my sister's house, and she lives a little bit far out from me, so I'm gonna be in the car for a while. So I think I'm going to continue listening to the Woman Eating audiobook. I've really been enjoying it so far. I'm really glad I ended up picking that one because I think it's just a really nice change of pace from the other vampire books. So far it's completely different, just in like the outlook it has on vampires. This one is just like a very like depressing take on it. I'm enjoying it. It has a very kind of lovely prose to it, and I'm shocked at how introspective it is. It has me thinking a lot just like about mortality, and I think it's really interesting that the author can do that using like vampirism as a sort of metaphor for like girlhood, womanhood, or maybe even the transition between. I'll share more thoughts once I finish it, but I will say I already don't think this is going to be one for everyone because it is quite slow. It sort of emanates that feeling of like rotting in your bed for multiple days. That's kind of the vibe of it. So yeah, long drive, lots of reading to do. So I thoroughly enjoyed Women Eating. This book is completely different from Bride, completely different, but it's similar in that it's not your traditional vampire story. So if you're really looking for, again, like those gothic vibes, like your traditional vampirism, this is not that book. This book is definitely for those who enjoy like the sad girl lit genre. It is very slow. It is very character driven. Don't go into it expecting like blood, guts, gore, high action. You're just not gonna find it. But if you're looking for a very strong character study that is basically a metaphor for an eating disorder and just like a completely new take on vampires, I think you will enjoy this one. Who I think this is for is maybe you haven't read a vampire book in a while. Maybe you're like a little bit jaded from the genre. You're tired of seeing like old man vampire falls in love with young teen girl and it's Twilight. Because this is not that. I think it's just like a great reflection on the concept of mortality in general and how this immortal character views that and her like yearning to be a human and just be normal. Yeah, I thought it was great and I definitely would recommend it. But again, heed my warning, it's slow. And say hi to Ripley. Next up on the docket is A Dowry of Blood. This one is a Dracula retelling. I'm just excited to see where this one goes because I've heard so many great things. And I also have it on my Kindle, which will be great because I am taking a trip to New York City. And I think I'm just going to bring my Kindle. I'm not going to bring any physical books because my main plan is to just sit around and read. So I don't want to have to bring like a ton of books with me in case I am flying through them. I'll let you know what I think about that one. Okay, admittedly, it has been a while since I've finished A Dowry of Blood. I actually finished it when I was in New York, and that was over a month ago. I had every intention of putting this vlog up before Halloween. Sometimes the things we plan just don't happen, and that's okay. I flew through all of the vampire books until the last one, which I still haven't finished, by the way. I need to DNF. We'll talk about that in a minute. Back to A Dowry of Blood. I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars out of 5. I think my favorite thing about the book, and the only thing I like really strongly remember after like having read it a couple months ago, months, the prose is fantastic. Like the actual writing of the book is top tier. I loved reading it. It's very lyrical and just beautiful overall. Epistolary novels are just hard to do well. Like it's hard to really get in there and feel like immersed in the story. You kind of always feel like a little bit removed, and was my takeaway from this. I just didn't feel like I ever like really got sucked into the characters. It felt just like a little bit too surface level, which it like is and it isn't. Especially with the main character, Constanta, like we do see a lot of her and we do get a lot of in-depth writing about her thoughts and feelings. It just felt very contained, if that makes sense. And maybe that is just because a lot of the story, they are like locked up in a house. I just felt like it could have been pushed further. It takes place over such a long period of time, but like the ending ended up feeling pretty rushed in my opinion. So yes, I did enjoy it, but the thing I enjoyed most was the actual writing. The story itself, it was okay. The sister wife thing didn't really actually bother me that much. Maybe that's a me problem, but I don't know. It was fine. Like sometimes they like refer to themselves as siblings, but they're like not. They're really not. They're just like all like linked to this guy who's low key holding them captive, but they're kind of in denial about it. Like I don't know. I think it's fine. I feel like people shouldn't be that weirded out by it. I mean, they're vampires. What do we know? What do we know about their culture? So definitely not my favorite of the bunch, but I did really enjoy it. Now back to this mess. I'm literally so close to the end. It's fine. It's just like it's like a mass market paperback story that's just very It's very formulaic. And I just like was not in the mood for it, especially since I saved it for last. I'm gonna do it and then I will finally wrap up this video that is like now 3 months in the making. Jesus. There's many things I'm not enjoying about this. One of them being the vampire in the story is this girl's cousin, and he's actively trying to get her to marry him. I don't know about that one. I don't know. So I'm not loving that. I'm also not loving the writing or the characters. So I need to finish it though. I'm dragging through it. I finally finished this book. I cannot believe it took me 2 months to finish this. It was honestly just because it was so bad. I was too stubborn to DNF it, so that's on me. Yeah, this one is not worth reading. So sorry, in case you were really hopeful. I'm just struggling because I love these like pulpy gothic covers, but I have found that I almost never enjoy the books. They all sort of feel like a TV show where it's like every single episode has the same like conflict that's resolved by the end. There's just nothing really unique here. And on top of that, it was weird. It was weird, I'll be honest. There was some weird incest stuff going on. I gave it 1 star. 1 out of 5 stars. Do not read this one. It's over now. It's over now. I'm out of it. Luckily, I read a lot of other really great books during this reading vlog, so I can't be too upset. Doing a little bit of a recap. I think my favorite overall was Carmilla. This one nailed the short and sweet gothic novella. The writing was great. I liked the story a lot. Could have seen it expanded upon, but it's a must read in my opinion. Next up, my favorite was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This one just had me hooked start to finish. It's just addicting and I'm still thinking about it months later. But again, this is for fans of Ali Hazelwood, not necessarily vampire fans. Then I'm gonna put Woman Eating as my third place runner-up. I loved the unique take on the vampire story. I really enjoyed the writing, even though it's kind of one of those stories where nothing really happens. That's the only caveat. If you like stories like that, you will enjoy this, but if you don't, then just skip it. Then next up, I'll say A Dowry of Blood. Again, I really did enjoy this. Just because it's 4th on the list doesn't mean it was a bad book by any means. I just wanted more from it. And that's all I really have to say about it. Definitely will check out S.T. Gibson's retelling of Carmilla. Forgetting what that one's called, but I'll put it here. And then, of course, in last place was this shit. So that concludes volume 2 of my creature feature. I'd say overall I enjoyed the majority of the vampire books more than I did the mermaid books, but I think there's just more vampire books available than there are mermaid books, so it's easier to find good ones. There's still so many more vampire books I hope to read in the future. Please, if you have a favorite that I did not cover, let me know in the comments so I can be sure to pick it up. Hopefully, the next creature feature will not take me super long to make. I don't currently have any plans on what our subject matter will be. So if there's a certain creature you'd like me to highlight in volume 3, please let me know in the comments below. And with that, signing off. Don't invite any strangers into your home because you never know, they might be vampires. And eat lots of garlic. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next one.